Hi ladies, today for your CGI lesson, we're going to be talking about Mrs. Hilt, and she buys some books and then she later sells these same books, and we want to know the difference between the amount of money that she bought them for and the amount of money that she sold them for. So I'm going to go ahead and read this to you. It says, Mrs. Hilt bought 15 books. She paid $11 for each book. She later sold all 15 books for $25 each. What is the difference between the total amount of money Mrs. Hilt sold the books for and the total amount of money that she paid for the books? All right, so Mrs. Hilt is buying 15 books. Okay, so she buys these 15 books. And then she's going to pay $11. So she paid $11 for each book. Okay, so she buys 15 books and she pays $11 for each book. And really make sure that you're paying attention to that word each. That's super important because each of the books was $11. So then it says she later sold all 15 books. So she's selling all 15 of the books she just bought. And she's selling, so she sold the books for $25 each. Okay, and again, remember that word each is really important because that helps us know that every single one of those 15 books was $25. So now we want to know, what is the difference between the total amount of money Mrs. Hilt sold the books for and the total amount of money she paid for the books? And that word difference is really important because we're trying to figure out, those two amounts. What is the difference between them? And remember, we're not talking about difference like, oh, well, one of them she buys 11 and the other's 25 when she sells it. No, difference is an operation, okay? We're not just comparing those numbers. We're not talking about like the difference in comparison. We're talking about a difference. What is our operation that talks about finding the difference between two things? All right, so at this point, you are going to be on page 14 of your packet. Page 14 is where you're going to be recording this CGI lesson. Go ahead, you're going to solve it on your own, and then once you finish, you can unpause the video and we will work on solving it together. All right, so go ahead and pause and then unpause when you're ready. All right, so you should have already solved this problem. So up on my paper, I have our three quantities, and I only listed 15 once because 15 just represents the total number of books. I'm actually going to put bought/sold, okay, because she buys these books, but she also sells the exact same 15 books. Dollars is the purchase price for each book, and remember, each is super important. And then $12 is how much she sold each book for. So we're trying to figure out, what is the difference between the purchase price and the sold price for all 15 books? So first of all, we want to kind of think about those operation clue words and what that word each is telling me to do. So if we're looking at our keywords, and this is on page 4 of your packet, we're looking at those keywords, and I'm seeing the word each in both multiplication and then also, well, it's actually not in this one, but it should be. So I'm seeing it here down in division, but we also know that multiplication can mean each as well. And this is where we really want to think about, I'm all mixed up, okay. We want to think about, are we searching for our total or are we not, okay? So we have 15 books and we're buying each of them for $11. So do we even know the purchase price? So we don't know the purchase price, so we don't know that whole, which means we want our answer to get bigger. So 15 books and $11 are two different units, which means that we can't add them together. because then we just have books and money, and that just doesn't make sense. So we want to multiply those two numbers together to figure out how much money we're spending on the books. So I'm going to use lattice. So I'm going to put 15 up top, and I'm going to do 11 on the side. And remember, you can use the standard algorithm, you can use partial products, you can use whatever strategy you would like. I'm going to use lattice today. 5 times 1 is 5. 1 times 1 is 1. So remember, we have 0 tens and 1 1, 0 tens and 5 ones. 5 times 1 is 5. And again, 1 times 1 is 0 tens and 1 1. Now we're going to add. So we have 5. 5 plus 1 is 6. And we have 1. So she buys the books. So the purchase price is going to be $165. Okay, so our purchase price is $165. But our question's asking what's the difference between the purchase price and the price that she sells the books for. So now she has these 15 books and she's selling them for $25. And I know when we sell something, usually our answer is going to get bigger because if we're selling something, then we're making money off of it. So we want to multiply to figure out how much money she's receiving when she sells these 15 books. Okay, so when we purchase something, it's coming out of our pocket. When we sell something, we put that money back into our pocket. So we're going to take the total books and the sold price for each book, and we're going to multiply those together now. So again, I'm going to use multiplication. And this time, I'm also going to use lattice. Oops, 25. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 5 is 25. 2 times 1 is 2. 5 times 1 is 5. So now I'm going to add together 5, 5, 6, 7, 3. So our sold price is $375. So now we want to figure out the difference between those. And we know, because we were talking about it before, that when we are finding the difference between something, it's not us comparing them, it's an operation. So I want you to look at our keywords, and where we're seeing that word difference is going to be down here in the subtraction portion. So we're finding that in subtraction because we want to know how much more money she has from when she bought them to now when she's selling them. We want to know that difference between those two quantities. So in order to find the difference, and because we're talking about money and we want our answer to get smaller because we already have both of our wholes, we want our answer to get smaller, so we either divide or we subtract. But because we're talking about money, in both of these, we can actually subtract them from each other. But what's super important is you want to remember that the bigger number always has to go first. So we're starting with 375, and we're subtracting the 165. And this is going to tell us the difference, and this is going to tell us kind of how much money she made from buying these books and then selling them for a bigger amount of money. So 5 minus 5 is 0. 7 minus 6 is 1. 3 minus 1 is 2. So at this point, she made $210, which is also the difference between the purchase price and the sold price for the 15 books. So she has $210, which is our difference. And then for our number sentence, the first thing that we did, we want to use those parentheses to separate the two things that we did. So we took 15 times $11 And then we also took, which actually, because this is going to be bigger, we want to put it first so we can subtract them from each other. So see, a little bit of trial and error. 15 times 25, there we go. And then we're going to subtract the answer of this from 15 times 11, because this is bigger. So we actually took this answer and subtracted this answer. But if I would have put this first and then put subtraction, it wouldn't have made sense, which is why I crossed this out and redid it down here. And then this gave us an answer of $210. So the difference between the amount of money that she bought the books for and the amount of money that she sold the books for was $210. So at this point, make sure that you have gone back, or you are going back and you're double checking your work, making sure that your work matches mine. Remember that you can use standard algorithm, you can use partial products, you can use whatever strategy you prefer and is most efficient for you, because remember, everybody has a different process. Our goal is to get the same answer. So you can do whatever strategies or processes that you enjoy and that work best for you. I encourage you to go back and rewatch the video if you had a minor mistake, because the best way to fix those mistakes is to really kind of listen to that process again and why we did what we did. And maybe you made just a simple multiplication error. So it's important to just look at that and see maybe what you could have done differently. Make sure that your parent or guardian signs the bottom of this page and dates it to verify that you did the assignment. Have a great rest of your day.